Making large signs has never been easier. Today I'm going to show you how I used our large film starter bundle to make this large chalkboard sign. Our starter bundle comes with an extender rod, a 25 sheet pack of printer film, and you can get that in either inkjet or laser printer film, and a 10 sheet pack of stencil film, and you can get it either in our blue stencil film or our purple textile film. So let's learn how to make this sign.
So the first thing I'm going to do is get my artwork, and I just went to our website, ikonartstencil.com, to the resources section and free artwork, and I have this exact design on our website for you to download for free. So you just choose which one you want to download. I'm going to download the distressed SVG file. So I just click the link, right click, and save to my desktop. So after I save it to my desktop, I'm just going to open InkScape and go to File, Open, and find my file on my desktop and open it. And after the file opens, I'm just going to go to File, Document Properties to make sure everything is set up correctly and it's sized the way I want. So I always just change my display units to inches and my units to inches, and then I change the size of my artboard to be the size of my printed film. So if you want to print this on 8.5 by 11, you would change it to that size, but I'm going to be printing on our 11 by 17 film. So as you can see, that changed the size of my artboard. So I'm just zooming out so I can see my whole artboard at once. And now I'm going to resize my artwork to fit on my artboard. So I'm just going to use the arrow tool to select all of my artwork, and you can either scale it manually by using that little arrow in the corner, or you can use the transform palette at the top to type in your exact numbers. Just make sure that little lock is clicked in between the two numbers, in between the width and the height, so that it scales proportionally. So I'm actually going to change the width to 16.5, just slightly smaller than my artboard and my printer film to allow for margins. And then I'm going to go to my Align and Distribute palette and select Align to Page, and then I'm going to center vertically and center horizontally. And now that my artwork is centered, I can mirror it. So I just click the Flip Object Horizontally button, and it mirrors my artwork. And now I'm ready to print. So I just go to File, Print, and make sure my correct printer is selected, and then go into Preferences. And of course I have my preferences saved as Ikonart Film, and I just want to make sure my paper size comes over correct as well. So I'm going to change that to be 11 by 17. I do have a complete YouTube video on all my preferences, but I'll just quickly go over what I have saved. So the first thing I do is change my media type to Photo Paper Pro Platinum. And then I go into my print quality settings and change that to 1. And in my color and intensity, I go into manual and increase both the intensity and contrast. And then I make sure grayscale printing is checked. And that's all I change to get my darkest print possible, which really affects washout. So now I'm ready to print. So I just click OK and print. One thing I did want to mention is that sometimes when printing on larger format film, InkScape can be a little glitchy. And you can see in this picture how it only printed part of my design, not the whole design. So if you have any issues printing out of InkScape, I don't even waste my time trying to figure out or troubleshoot it. I don't have time for that. I just go right into exporting as a PDF and printing as a PDF instead. So let me show you how to do that quick. So I just went back to my design in InkScape and clicked File, Save As, and then I'm just going to choose PDF from the menu and save it to my desktop. And I'm just leaving all my default settings. I just click OK, and then I go to my desktop, open the PDF, and print right out of Acrobat. And I do the same thing. So I'm just going to select Properties, go to my saved settings, click OK, go into Page Setup, make sure my page document is set up as 11 by 17, click OK, and then I'm ready to print. So if you have any issues printing out of InkScape, I recommend this method. I never have any problems doing it this way. And here we go. Our design is printing, and after that we'll be ready to make a stencil. When exposing your 12 by 18 stencil film, you just add the extender bar to your stand and flip the light around so it is facing the opposite way of the base, because the base is not big enough for your stencil film. So you just lay your stencil film on a flat surface. and all the instructions are on the packaging for your 12 by 18 stencil film. Then you just lay your stencil film down the exact same way as the 10 by 12. So you lay your stencil sheet down first with the textured side up, and then your artwork so you can read it, and then the cover sheet that comes in your package of film. And then I always rub down my cover sheet to make sure there's no air bubbles and that there's a really good seal between my artwork and my stencil film. And then you just expose for 1 minute and 40 seconds. And when the time is up, I just turn off my light, and now it's time to wash out. So when I'm washing out my 12 by 18 film, I like to use this 13 by 19 speedball frame to support my film as I'm washing it out. And I usually just get the whole thing wet first, let it sit for a little bit to soften the emulsion, and then I use my TriggerJet nozzle or sprayer or whatever you have to wash out your stencils to just continuously go back and forth until all of the emulsion is washed out of the openings. And we do have another video on YouTube showing the washout process from start to finish. Another option, if you don't have good pressure or a good sprayer, is to get a Water Pik. This is just a dental Water Pik that I'm using to wash out my stencil, and this is a great option as well. So as you can see, all of my fine details did hold. All of the distressing that was on my artwork is on my stencil and looks great. This is because my artwork was printed with those dark settings, which is allowing all those small details to be held on my stencil, as well as helping make washout a lot easier. Your print settings and the darkness of your print really do make a difference when it comes to washout. So I'm just going to finish washing out this stencil, and then I will dry it and we'll be ready to make our sign. There's a couple different ways you can dry your stencil. You can just air dry it. You could leave it on the frame, take it off the frame, lay it on the floor. But today I'm going to use our film dryer just to speed up the process a little bit. So I'm just going to put it in the top shelf, turn on the dryer, and that'll just be done in a few minutes. All right, now that my film is dry, I can get to the fun part, and that is making my sign. So I'm just removing the backer, and then I lay my stencil on my sign. I got this large chalkboard sign from Hobby Lobby, and it's perfect for our larger stencils. And our stencils are repositionable. The adhesive on the back of our blue stencils was really made for this type of surface, so you can lay it down, and if it's a little bit crooked or it's not exactly how you want it, you are able to easily lift it back up without distorting your artwork. It's not too sticky where it's like glued down to the board. It has just the right amount of adhesive to stick to the board but still be repositionable. And as you saw, I just rubbed down my stencil to make sure all the air bubbles were out and that the stencil was laying flat on my chalkboard. And now I'm just going to use our Tucker Trade Company chalk paste in bright white that we have on our website and start stenciling. So chalk paste does dry super, super fast. And when I'm working with it, especially on a large sign like this, I like to work in sections. So I just add chalk paste to a section of my stencil and squeegee it across. And here I'm just removing all the excess and putting it back in the pot so that I can use it again later. You really don't use very much per project because you are scraping off that excess and saving it for later. And then I just lift up that part of the stencil. And because chalk paste does dry so fast, I'm able to just lay the stencil back like that, and it really won't affect my design on the chalkboard. That chalk paste has already dried pretty much. So I'm just repeating these steps throughout the whole stencil design. So I'm just going to add to my second section, remove all the excess paint, and lift my stencil again, and then just continue on down my stencil. I love using chalk paste with our stencils because it's removable. So if I would want to use this sign in the future for something else, say I would want to make a wedding sign or a birthday party sign or any kind of holiday decor, I could just take some water and wipe off the chalk paste that I put on the board with the stencil and add in a different stencil design. So that makes this really great for holiday decor and other types of signs that you can make seasonally. Since the stencils are also reusable, I could make this same hot cocoa sign next year for Christmas as well, but still use the sign for other events or things throughout the whole year. Or if you make a sign with chalk paste and you love it and you don't want to ever remove it, you can also seal your chalk paste with a clear sealer to make it more permanent. So say you made a sign for outdoors or something like that you would want to be, you would never want the chalk paste to come off. You can always just seal it to make it permanent. And we do also sell a chalk powder on our website so that you can make your own chalk paste colors in any quantity you want. So say you only need a little bit of a color, well then just get our chalk powder and mix it in with any acrylic paint and you can make your own chalk paste, which is a really great option. So I'm just going to finish up this sign and then we will wash out the stencil. Because our stencils are reusable, I do like to wash off the paint or ink or paste or whatever I'm using as soon as I'm done with my project. I don't like to let it sit in there for too long to stain the stencil or dry in the mesh or anything like that. So I'll just remove the stencil here and then we'll go wash it out right away. So here's just a little clip of me washing out the stencil. I like to use this soft bristle brush and my TriggerJet nozzle to just get all of the paste off of the stencil. And I do have a video that covers this in more depth, but I'm just showing you a little clip here. And then we will add on the backer sheets. Now that my stencil is completely washed out, I'm just going to lay it on a flat surface with the adhesive side up. And you have two options. You can either return the clear backer sheet that the stencil film comes on, or you can use our release paper, which is a little easier to tell which side to apply to and you don't have to be as precise. So if I have a 12x18 film, I just use 2 release sheets and there you go. Now your stencil is protected and ready to be reused. Here is a close-up of all that distressing on the letters. It turned out great. The stencil held all the fine details and it just looks really good with the chalk paste on the chalkboard surface, and I just love how this one turned out. So I'm ready for my cup of hot cocoa, that's for sure. So if you have any questions about any of our film bundles, our Ikonart stencil making kit, or anything else, leave them in the comments below or check out our website.